Hello Libra friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my March 2020 horoscope report for you. In this video, we're going to talk about the movement of the planets this month and how that's likely to affect Libra placements. We're going to talk about some important dates to note for you to get in your calendar and why. And we're going to talk about Saturn moving into Aquarius and the energy, what this brings for Libras, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is the general climate. I'm happy to report that once again this month, we have more sweet aspects than salty ones. And whenever that happens, it brings more harmony in the sky. And even though that particular truth doesn't always drill down to everyone's individual experience, it is a notch on the chart of plus for the month for more of a chance of harmony and, wonderful things and ease. Okay, the second thing to note is that as the planets start moving into Aries, okay, so Venus has already been there, so this energy kind of has already started already, but then the Sun is going to follow towards the end of March, the Mercury is going to get there. When placements move through Aries, it creates a lot of overstimulation for Libra because it opposes your placement, okay? So in the month of February, you had Venus, the ruler of love, beauty, and money, opposing your sign. This could have brought notable things in love, self-esteem, and money. And now this theme of relationships is going to continue very strongly because Venus is still moving through the two partnership houses, the 7th and 8th houses, for all Libra placements. So no matter whether you're early, middle, or late degree, you have all joined the party officially of Venus moving through these placements. One of the wonderful things that can come from this is more harmony in your relationships, meeting somebody of important consequence, whether it's romantically or in a business way or clients or anything having to do with your livelihood. And this theme of the focus on relationships is going to be one that continues really strongly, especially through July, because Venus is here now, okay, and it's going to continue this for a little longer. Then in April, Venus is going to be in Gemini. It's going to go in retrograde and then back direct. And for most of you, that is going to be either completely in or partially in your relationship house. Okay, we'll talk more about Venus retrograde and the things that go on. And actually, you can get a leg up now and just search for Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde and see all the resources I have about Venus retrograde for you. But retrograde energies in general move inward and backward, bring things back up from the past for better or worse. So the theme of relationships and money and your self-esteem and, getting your footing with certain things is coming up now and is going to continue coming up very strongly through July because of this succession of placements involving Venus in the relationship sector. So because of the influence of retrograde being so strong for the whole month of March, okay, let's get back to March now. Mercury goes direct around the 9th, depending on your time zone, that could be a little different. And every day after the 9th, as we march towards the 30th, March 30th, Mercury is regaining strength. Okay, so that means that it's not until March 30th that Mercury regains full strength. So that means that almost the entire month is covered still in this retrograde and Mercury energy, which means murkiness, uncertainty, not being sure about things to commit to, opportunities coming in, maybe not having the whole story, a little bit of fine print sometimes when you're having to sign contracts, and opportunities that come up. You might not have all the information until the end of the month, okay? So that brings me to the first series of important dates. March 30th through April 9th is the magical window of freedom from the post-Mercury retrograde transit and the pre-Venus retrograde transit, okay? So Venus will start its shadow retrograde pre-transit after April 9th. And Mercury stops its post-transit, okay? These pre and post are really important because it's kind of like the way that I describe this. It's like, let's say you're on a barrier island that has a coastline that's a beach. And maybe you're not to the sand yet, but there's all these beachy shops, there's the tiki huts, you can smell the salt air. So you're basically at the beach, but you're not on the sand. And that's what this post, the weeks before and the weeks after a retrograde are like. The influences of the retrograde, the confusion, the uncertainty, the things going backwards, not having all the information, things being brought up from the past, not having momentum for forward movement sometimes. all of those factors are going to be strong in the pre and post shadows. And from March 30th through April 9th, it's completely clear. It's the longest time that we have for the whole rest of 2020 without any influence. So important commitments, signing contracts, moves, initiating important things, commitments of any kind, launches, important launches. Feel into pushing those into March 30th through April 9th because you're going to have the most oomph in that time compared to anywhere else in this year. All right, so in general, the movement of the planets through water signs is not super easy for Libra placement. So you have had awkwardness with the energy moving through Pisces. That awkwardness is likely to continue. What that conflict generally tends to be about is emotional things happening, either your emotions or somebody else's emotions, interfering with your ideologies or your thinking process. And so that the element of emotion kind of interfering with your intellectual process in some way. All right, and that's going to continue. The energy of Venus moving into an earth sign and Mars still being in an earth sign, those are also awkward angles for Libra because they are making challenging angles. And so what that means is that there's going to be pressure to do something, but possibly confusion to not know what to do, or like needing to gather your certainty, needing to gather your strength, needing to gather your self-esteem, needing to gather information in order to actually be able to take action. So it's lined up brilliantly if you can follow the flow here, okay? You've got most of the month of March to get all the information, to get things finished, to get things clear, to get your clarity, to get centered. Then you've got a little open window of push time, and you might be a little nervous, but it may be time to do it. So if it feels like it's time, those earth angles could be just kind of pressing you to take action and take it from the thinking plane to the doing plane, okay? And that could feel a little bit challenging, but it could wind up with great results. Okay, so there are a couple of other dates I want you to mark down. One is March 19th, and this is the beginning of the astrological new year. And this is exciting because, January is when we think about the new year. And this year, 2020, we certainly had like the energy of a new year in January. Sometimes that's not always true. Sometimes we start out the year, it's supposed to be a new year, it doesn't feel like it. This year we had a legitimate new year. But now it's like we have a second new year. It's like we had a new year, then we had like a little kind of stepping back. Now it's like, whoa, happy new year again. And it's going to feel like that. As the planets move into Aries, it's like the bursting, of flowers, the changing of seasons, even for y'all down under, it's the energy of changing seasons. It's something new, clean slates, and it's just notable from the perspective of the astrological cycle. March 24th is the new moon in Aries, and this is one of the best times of year to do a vision board. There are astrological power periods where the universe is more receptive to our wants and our needs and what we're trying to create consciously. And this is one of those times. So if you're a vision boarder or you want to become one, you can find online vision boards. I think probably Pinterest and other places have where you can take the essence of ideas, things that you want, maybe something particular, maybe a car, maybe a trip, maybe, something specific. Or it can be the essence of something you want to create in your life. So more love, more harmony, more peace, more money, more abundance, whatever. So just take note of that date, and also take note, because you are all in all completely different time zones. So the dates that I give you are going to be staggered depending on where you're at. All right, so just look up for when the new moon is for your time zone, and try as close as you can to do your vision boards to where that actual connection of the new moon is occurring. Having the new moon in your opposing sign is also very relevant, and it does bring up, once again, this energy of me and we. Libras, you guys hear about this a lot because, being a sign that's part of the me-we polarity, it's just constantly kind of coming up as a life theme. But there are times when the transits are doing certain things where it brings it up in your face more. So having something move through Aries and having a new moon in Aries, having anything in Aries is opposing your we. So it's like your individuality wants some focus. Your individual desires, your individual passion wants some focus. And wrestling some time and energy out of your commitments in your relationships to be able to pursue some of your individual things is usually what the theme is, bringing this up and trying to balance that between what other people want you to do and what you want to do, and, kind of evaluate once again the people-pleasing tendency of how much, you think that you feel good to help please other people, but sometimes you get stuck on this path where you keep pleasing them and you lose touch with what you want. So this is a really exciting time, especially for Libras, because remembering what you want for yourself and not just for other people can be helped by the planets moving through Aries. Those of you at the beginning of the sign, so basically September born or 0 to 9 degrees, you are going to be most impacted by this new moon, even though all of you will be, as I cited here, because you'll be in the closer degree. And do note that Chiron, the planet of our wounded self and our transcendent superhero self, is going to be, near this new moon. So, the energy of feeling wounded, feeling betrayed, feeling taken advantage of, whether or not that's the actual occurrence, that is a theme that is likely. It's a theme that's likely for everyone in the cosmos, but it's a theme that's more likely for Libras, and it's a theme that's more likely especially for you earlier born. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is Saturn moving into Aquarius, okay? When we talk about horoscopes, what usually makes horoscopes different month to month is the movement of the inner planets, the ones that are closest to us, because they move faster. If you just imagine, if you've ever seen an astrological chart, I show them sometimes, maybe you're familiar with them, it's like a running track. It's a running track through the sky. That's what I always describe it as to my students. I'm an astrology teacher, and that's my main focus. So these planets, like if you go to see a running track at a park, people are moving around at their different paces, okay? So there's the young athlete, he's 15 and he's just hauling butt around, and he's the moon, okay? The moon makes it around in, 27, 28 days. Then there's Pluto, who's like the old guy who had a hip replacement, and he's just like taking one step at a time and moving super slowly, and it takes him 240 years to move around the track. And everyone else is somewhere in between. So the chart is a snapshot of where everybody is on the track, and their relationships mathematically to each other, which is not relevant when it's on a track, so our analogy runs out there. But understanding that when the outer planets do something significant, like move into a different sign, this is a rare event. And that's why we have to talk about Saturn moving into Aquarius, okay? You're probably going to be hearing a lot about this because, it's years in between the time Saturn changes signs. But it's important for you to know a couple of things, and I'm going to go into some details about this so that it can help frame the other things that you hear and frame your understanding. Saturn is moving into Aquarius, but it's not staying in Aquarius very long. All right, so if you hear people talking about Saturn is about to move into your 5th house, this is what this means, there's going to be some truth to that from the whole house perspective, okay? But from the Placidus perspective, which is the type of chart that I do, it's a system within the Western astrology system, okay? It's like one way of doing it. You're not really going to have Saturn moving into the 5th house unless you're right there at the beginning of the sign, the first couple of days, the first couple of degrees, whether you're Moon Libra, Sun Libra, Rising Libra, only those first couple of degrees are from the Placidus standpoint. Only you guys are going to have Saturn moving into your 5th house. And it's just for a little while. Like between now and June, it'll be there. Hey, I'm here. And then it goes retrograde again. And then it's not until December of 2020 that it actually gets back into Aquarius. So any of the things that you hear about Saturn's in your 5th house, which I'm going to talk about what all this means, but I just have to lay the foundation here. Most of you are not going to experience the true energy of Saturn in your 5th house until 2021 and beyond. So between 2021 and 2023 is when most Libras are going to experience Saturn in the 5th house. You're going to get some themes introduced. Those of you right in the beginning, you're going to have more of that. But the predominance of the year is still going to hold Saturn in the 4th house. So now we can talk about what Saturn brings. We can look at what's been going on in your life, the way it's been manifesting, so that you can understand how to wrap up the energy so that you can be ready for when Saturn truly does move into your 5th house and what that will look like, okay? All right, so Saturn has a range of potential expression. Every planet, every sign, every placement has a range of potential expression. Saturn gets a bad rap because everybody knows it as it's heavy, it's depressing, it's, obstacles, blah, 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 whatever. Everyone fears it. Saturn's coming for us and we're like, ah! But, and that's all true. It is actually all true. But there is another side. The other side is that Saturn brings manifestation, pure manifestation, from thought to form, right in front of you, tangible manifestation. It can bring security. It can bring, development and recognition and accomplishment. That's the upside of it. In order to get from the lower side to the upper side, it has its principles that it's trying to teach. All these planets are archetypal energies that are teachers for us. And the more we understand what they're trying to tell us, the more we can just learn the lesson and get on with it. Saturn wants discipline, hard work, persistent focus, a very deep look into the energy of responsibility, being too responsible, being not responsible enough, just like an evaluation and work along those lines, an evolution along those lines within the area that it is affecting in your chart. So what has been happening for Libra over the last years is that you've been having Saturn move through the 4th house. And by now, this is true for all of you. Even you late degree placements at the end, you've had Saturn in your 4th house, okay? So that brings this energy of hardships, difficulties, heaviness, and or accomplishment, recognition, security to the arenas of home and family. This is also highlighting home-based business. So if you work from home, or if you work about homes, if your work is about homes, like real estate, construction, design, interior design, decorating, architecture, or your inner world. The 4th house is also the house of inner psychology. So working with children, working with your inner child and things that happen in your childhood that are patterns. And, those lines of work and those divisions of your life are aspected. So you might have found that you've needed to go in very deep into your psychological past to heal patterns that are coming up now that you are just done with and you want to be rid of. So you still have 2020 to do this, okay? And if you haven't done it already, then this might be what Saturn's asking you for. It wants hard work, discipline, persistence in your inner world to heal your trauma and your inner child. It wants focus on topics of real estate. It wants focus on security, inner security, working your security from the inside out. It wants you to work hard with your family members and your relationships with your family members. And some of you might be building a family. Some of you might be building a house. It could be actually working on building a family and building a house, literally. And there might be some more lessons to learn. So in 2020, you're going to get to wrap those lessons up and hopefully get to the accomplished point of what Saturn's trying to bring. Now, the best way you can understand how Saturn has been affecting you is to think about the energy of responsibility and discipline and all of that as it relates to your work, your career, your father figures, your mother figures, your home, your real estate, your inner world. Think about the last couple of years and apply that and think, what's been going on in those arenas? What's been happening there? You can see Saturn at work, how Saturn has been working, and see if you need to push to the other end of the spectrum by applying the principles that Saturn's trying to bring. Okay, so an example might be how you apply discipline to your inner world is getting therapy, is doing something like the presence process, like Michael Brown, which is a 10-week journey. You can extend it longer than that. You can find the book on Amazon or Audible. It's one of my favorite inner work books, period. It requires 2 meditations a day. It's not easy to do 1 meditation a day. It's not easy to do 2 meditations a day. But when you apply Saturnian principles to doing those meditations every day for 10 weeks, then you can revamp your inner world with that process by using the principles of Saturn to apply to that realm. So you see what I'm saying? You see how you apply it. Let's say you're having a hard time with your family. Maybe you have to go into therapy. Maybe you have to go into therapy with them. Maybe you have to have mediation, but like working with it actively and not giving up and continuing to push through is what Saturn wants you to do. Okay, so now the place where it's going, you might get some themes. All of you placements may have themes about what I'm about to discuss, but the ones that are September born or 0 to 9 degrees, for whatever Libra placement you're watching for, moon, rising, sun, are more likely to feel this year, okay? You'll also be feeling it some next year, you early friends, but the rest of you are not likely to have it as the bigger theme that it will become. Saturn moving into the 5th house of children, creativity, romance, hobbies, fun, pleasure, and in some cases addictions. Okay, so I have seen people trying to have children, and there's kind of like a theme here that runs with Saturn in the 4th house and the 5th house, like the idea of building a family. So if you're having trouble with miscarriages, if you're not getting pregnant, sometimes Saturn runs these experiences to help you get to the crux of what the issue is and to heal it so that you can, create from that. So actual like baby making, baby creation, family creation, or it could have to do with needing to have discipline or more work or focus with the children you already have, or if you're doing work with children, this can apply. Your kids might need more attention. They might need more discipline. You might need, to spend more time with them. There's, something applying those Saturnian principles to the area of children. This also has to do with creative projects. I remember when Saturn was moving through my 5th house, I was writing a bunch of books. This was in my 20s. And so when Saturn, it wasn't easy. Like usually I'm very creatively prolific, and it was heavier. It was a little bit harder. But what Spirit told me at that time said, okay, Annie, the way Saturn moving through your 5th house when you're working with creativity, especially if you're writing a book or you're like creating something that you have to work and work and work, is to like do it every day. So Spirit said, do it for 10 minutes a day, get the discipline, get the regularity. That's what Saturn wants. And then before you know it, you'll have everything finished. And that's what happened. So when Saturn left my 5th house, which is when we get the gifts of what happens. So by the way, when you're done with Saturn touring your 4th house, you get to get the gifts of the home and family. You get to get the outcomes. Saturn busts your chops. That's what I always describe him as. But if you do your work, he brings your gifts. And sometimes he can bring more than one gift. So Saturn busted my chops. I did the work. At the end of that, I published my first book. And that started a theme that has been going on for a very long time since then of writing books. And so it like started a foundation that became something that was important in my life. So just kind of think about this, romance. Maybe you're having issues in your romantic life. Maybe you need to put your focus on that. Maybe you're not spending enough time with your honey, and that's what it is. You have to just like set up date night. See, Saturn applied in that situation is, okay, I'm going to stop making excuses for why I can't have dates with my partner and make it a habit. Every Friday we're going to do this. Like you add the regularity to it to help solve the problem. You add the schedule, you add the regularity, you add the focus. Possibly it could be therapy. Possibly it could be it tests a relationship. Saturn also tests things for long-term viability. So Saturn testing can show you if something is going to make the long-term thing, the long-term story. And if not, can break it and set you up to be able to draw in someone who will be more permanent and more perfect for you. So it's the romantic sector and everything about the romantic relationship. As I mentioned before, sometimes addictions. Since this is a house of fun and kind of can be overdoing, some of you may need more fun. And if you need more fun, then Saturn going into your 5th house can help you to schedule fun. It can help you to make fun a part of your life, establish fun as a necessity. And for those of you who are having too much fun and you need more discipline, then you add it into the places where you need discipline. Maybe there's a gambling addiction. Maybe there's something, that's excessive. Saturn will come in, start to make things more heavy, where you either get crushed under it or you say, that's it. I'm gonna change this. You see? So hopefully you can kind of understand through these stories about how this works. Okay, so just an overview again. Expect more overstimulation this month of March as the planets move through Aries, continue to move through Aries, opposing your point. Finding your balance may be a little bit more difficult, but that's exactly what you're striving for. You're being pulled in two different directions. Me and we is the main storyline, and finding perfect balance within your relationships and yourself is what's wanted. Likely more attention needs to be on yourself, and that's what the Aries planets are saying. Hey, what about the me and we? There's got to be a me and we, right? So that's happening. The energies of the earth signs are telling you maybe it's time to do something and bring things from your mental plane into the active creation plane. You've got a lot of support for that. And remember, towards the end of the month and into, March 30th through April 9th, really great launching points for those things if you feel that that's relevant for you. The energies in Pisces are likely going to continue bringing up emotional things, and those can feel like some roadblocks or challenges as the emotion may conflict with the mental process. But it's always, I always believe that the universe is conspiring for our good, and that even when these aspects that come in that feel a little tough, it's happening to help you to look at something so that everything can be better after that. Okay, so just kind of be present with what comes up, make the time to feel, make the time for emotions for yours and others to further build your relationships. Take sacred time for yourself if you need it. And Saturn's moving in Aquarius. Now you understand what that means. In general, the last thing to know about Saturn in Aquarius is that it's a fellow air sign. So that's really super positive for you. Okay, so we talked about the houses, the fields of experience that it's going to be continuing to bring stories in. But compared to whatever heaviness you've gone through with Saturn in Capricorn, it's more likely to not be as heavy and not be as bad if it was difficult for you, because it wasn't, Capricorn is a square. It's a challenging sign aspect. So it would have been harder for you to have a Saturn transit through Capricorn than likely it will be with Saturn through a fellow air sign. And those of you right at the beginning of the sign, the first couple of days, the first couple of degrees, you're going to have a really long time of Saturn kissing your placement. So that's amazing. And for the rest of you, from between now and 2023, everyone's going to get their kisses from Saturn, which can be major accomplishment, major projects, major, winning your battles. This is a time where it's really extra possible to win your battles and to be able to move forward victorious and happy and fulfilled. So if you'd like to have more information about how astrology can help you, you can sign up for my free email newsletter, because in that I will send you a write-up of the month with all the sweet aspects, all the salty aspects, what the dates are, what the aspects are, what you can expect from them, the written overview of the month, some general things to know, plus my retrograde bonus that I'm putting in my newsletters at, this year, because I want you to know the dates of all the retrogrades and understand kind of the time to come. So all that's in my newsletter, besides other goodies. Okay, so if I also have a massive amount of Venus retrograde and other blogs on my site, AnnieHelpsYou.com. AnnieHelpsYou.com is where you sign up for the newsletter. AnnieHelpsYou.com is where you do lots of things. That's my main site. On that website, you can look for, because Venus retrograde is right around the corner. April 9th is when that post or the pre-shadow period happens. And so you'll want to be up on this so that you can do the things that you're not supposed to do in Venus retrograde beforehand, or, just kind of get your plan together. You can check out my Venus retrograde blog, but also I have a video. And to my knowledge, this video is the most watched Venus retrograde general video on YouTube. So it's just a massive amount of information on understanding the sign, what the do's and the don'ts and why, and how you get around them and all of that. If you would like to learn astrology, you can also see my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course at AnnieHelpsYou.com, or you can go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, and see all my courses. But this course is the new version of my astrology apprenticeship program, and it can help you to become a professional astrologer, and it will give you everything that you need to do that. Or if you just want to learn for your own fun and self-development, then it can completely prepare you for that too. So you can see that at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. All the links I'm giving you are also in the notes underneath the video. Or you can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com. If you go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, this is my site where I do written horoscopes monthly. And sometimes I talk about different things in those written horoscopes than I cover in the video. So you get extra information 1 month early. I also have lifestyle. It's just such a beautiful site. Just go see it because it's so pretty. CozyBySweetStarlight.com. And I also have like yoga through the signs, maximizing the sun's movement through the signs. I have tea blog, herbal tea formulas for the signs. There's just like all of these themes about the signs and lifestyle and things like that. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.